Weather portion of AgWeek now. An interesting weather pattern setting up. When is it not, right? But as we continue to move forward through the height of planting season in the northern plains, wrap it up in the upper Midwest and Corn Belt, two things are going on. Cold weather continues. In fact, reinforced cold air coming in to especially the northern plains. Probably won't have any impact on agriculture, but it will have an impact on your gardens. But the general cool weather pattern will have an impact if it doesn't warm up. In combination with the cold weather is a generally dry weather pattern, and those two things working in tandem work okay together. But that may change eventually. I'll explain. Starting off tonight with the Palmer Index of Drought Severity, and this is an index of the deep moisture profile, so it doesn't necessarily reflect the top inch or so of soil. It's the deep moisture profile, but you get the picture by looking at the categories here. We're basically pegged in the wettest category over southern North Dakota, all of South Dakota, many other areas of the northern plains. However, the Corn Belt is more just sort of favorably moist in most areas right now, and that's a fairly important distinction. But here in the northern plains, especially the Dakotas, it's just way too wet, except near the Canadian border, where it is a little bit less so. And the weather continues to be fairly cool. The combination of cool weather with wet soil means we're not getting as much evaporation, so the soils that are wet tend to stay wet. And it looks like that trend will continue for a while. The really chilly weather of the weekend will continue into the early part of this week. It does look like as we get past the mid part of the week, the chilly weather, and by that I mean the highs are only in the 40s and 50s. Those are going to scoot back up into Canada, and we're going to see some 60s returning to the northern plains. 70s, even some 80s will start getting into the southern part of the Corn Belt. A lot of the deep south will heat up pretty nicely, but we're not going to see a lot of that really hot weather move much further to the north. Moving into the second week, there will be a slight shift again southward of the cooler temperatures. I don't think it'll be as cold. Now we're talking 17th through 23rd of May, but still a relatively cool to mild pattern as the southern half of the country begins to heat up fairly normally. Rain showers, there will be an area of rain this week, very likely affecting the area around Iowa to about Lake Michigan. Other than that, the East Coast looks quite dry. Northern plains, maybe a shower or two, maybe one day with rainfall, but it doesn't look heavy. The second week of the period now, the 17th through 23rd of May, kind of the same area with the focus of heavier rain dropping further south. But again, in the northern plains where it continues to be dry, I just don't see a lot of precipitation. What'll be interesting is as we get on into high summer, if we continue with this dry weather pattern, that wet soil will start to evaporate in the heat of summer, and we'll start to be needing some rainfall if we don't start to see some changes in the precip patterns.